Steeler Nation, we are back with another great episode. Unfortunately, it's Super Bowl weekend coming up, but the Steelers did not make it. But we're going 365 days of the year on the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. As always, I am Jay York Football, live and direct from my new home. And joined alongside me, as always, Mic'd Up Sports One. What is up in South Florida, baby?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it was fair to say, unfortunately, it's Super Bowl week. I don't know if I've ever been less interested in a matchup. I feel like I'm a little chiefed out, and obviously I have the other side of PA and the Eagles. We always want bragging rights in Western Pennsylvania. So I don't know, man. Usually I'm cooking up the bucket chicken dip, getting the pizza ready, inviting the friends over, and hey, man, this time maybe I'm just gonna go to sleep a little early.
Yeah, I agree. I'm both of these teams. Obviously, I'm going to wear my Steelers jersey this weekend. So it's just it's funny because this is the most. I have honestly no interest in the Super Bowl if I'm being serious. I know the Chiefs are like the new Patriots, and I don't want the Eagles to win because that we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's just for me, it's I'm here for the commercials.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't want to slander my guy. He just won a couple of Grammys, but Kendrick Lamar just doesn't do it for me either. So let's hope the commercials are good. Let's hope they're good. But I know why, and that's DraftKings Sportsbook. We want to make sure everybody gets in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook. This is the Super Bowl, so it's the biggest game of the year to bet. Make sure that you jump in on some touchdown props because scoring touchdowns is the key to winning the Super Bowl. You can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. If you're ready to place your first bet, do us a favor. Bet on something simple, like we said, maybe Saquon Barkley to score 6. That's been hitting pretty consistently recently. I think, you could also bet on Jalen Hurts to score 6. A little tush-push action maybe, but maybe most importantly, DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get 200 in bonus bets by using our code TheSickPodcast. That's Sick Sports, SickSports, Sick Sports for 200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Aaron Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Man, that intro, that's not what I want to hear right now. Just, reminiscent of the good old days.
Yeah, no question. But it's always good to talk ball. Listen, we're bringing on a former college quarterback today. You can find him, JakeFranklinFootball.com, at JakeFranklinFB on X. It's none other than our guy, Jake Franklin. Jake, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Appreciate y'all having me on. And that intro got me hyped up, so I wish the Steelers were in the Super Bowl. My Cowboys aren't.
I was going to say, where are you joining us from, by the way?
Frisco, Texas. So where the headquarters of the Cowboys are. So like y'all said, I'm not a big fan of the Eagles either or the Chiefs. So it's going to be tough to watch the Super Bowl.
Some of the best high school football around, no doubt, in Texas and Frisco. You live in. So let's get into some X's and O's. We were just talking off air. We're watching some Steelers-Ravens playoff film. Your eyes are probably bleeding still from having to watch that Steelers offense. But just tell us, obviously, from an offensive perspective, what is going on in Pittsburgh and what went wrong these last few weeks?
Well, I think one big plague the Steelers have been dealing with is their points per game. I was looking at it from 2023 and 2024, and in 2023 they had 17.9 points per game. It's pretty terrible. This past season, it's a little bit better, 22 points, but still, even with 22.4 points a game, that just doesn't get the job done. I looked at all the winning scores from a lot of the wild card round, the divisional round, the conference championship rounds, and some of the scores, some of the points being scored are Texans 32, Bills 31, Commanders 45, Eagles 28, Eagles in the conference championship 55, Chiefs 32. So to win games, especially in the playoffs, you got to score at least 28 to 31 points to have a shot. And the Steelers did not get that done. And yes, I did watch the whole entire Ravens versus Steelers game twice via all 22. And I took a lot of notes on it, and there's a few bright spots, but there's also a lot lacking as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of those things that might be lacking with this, not only with the Steelers, I should put it this way, maybe the whole league, has seemed like the lack of passing in the middle of the field has been something that has just really changed over the course of the last handful of years. Do you agree with that? And is there anything that you would point to as to why there's so many quarterbacks who are just throwing outside the numbers now?
I think part of that reason is pre-snap, all the linebackers are in the box. So before the play starts, there could be 2 to 3 linebackers in the box. So it's congested. And so a lot of new quarterbacks, I still remember even when I played, I look at the middle of the field and I'd be like, no way, I'm going there. But 2 seconds after the snap, those linebackers drop into their zones and that middle of the field does open up. And I know that's been one of the Steelers' issues is attacking the middle of the field. They've been throwing outside so much. And actually, I do have a stat for this Ravens-Steelers game. There was only 2 passes thrown between the hashes.
Wow.
From this past game. And then between the hashes and the numbers, there was only 9 throws. And then outside of the numbers, 15 throws. So they're pushing the ball way outside, and they weren't really attacking the middle of the field much. They had a couple of concepts where they did have receivers crossing the middle of the field, like with a shallow and a dig behind it. But I don't think they threw that very much. I think either 1 or 2 of their passes between the hashes was just a check down to Najee Harris.
Yeah, that's awful. And obviously that needs to change if they want to up those points per game that you alluded to in 2025. I think, on the flip side, when intermediate passing is not working so much, maybe the rushing game improves. I feel like this year running backs are kind of thriving again. It was kind of out in, not in vogue for years there. It was, you can only win by passing and scoring 1,000 points and throwing for 500 yards. And now you have teams like obviously the Eagles with Saquon and Ravens with Henry, but even the Lions showing that you can win on the ground, and Houston Mixon was great for Houston, so on and so forth. What has changed there? Is it a combination of talent and scheme?
What I've seen, and you've even seen some ESPN reporters complain about it, is a lot of teams, and I hate to milk Mahomes again, but since 6 or 7 years ago, when they started airing it out, putting up 300, 400 yards per game through the air, a lot of defenses started going 2 high safeties. So before they only had 1 high safety. Now they're putting up 2 to slow down that pass attack. Now, that's fine because 1 extra safety means 1 less guy in the box, usually. So teams really have to start relying on that run again. Now it's time to start paying running backs again and paying your O-line too, because a running back is only as good as his offensive line. And that was, again, part of the issue with the playoff game was there were double teams on Ravens defensive tackles, and the defensive tackles were splitting double teams. I mean, you got 2 offensive linemen on 1 guy, and he's still splitting it and disrupting the run. So when you see that, you don't really have much of a chance to win, and that's even with 2 high safeties. So if you're going against 2 high safeties, you've got to be able to run the ball. And the Steelers weren't able to do that most of the time. There's plays here and there they'd break one, but you got to do it consistently.
So let's talk about the quarterbacks. Obviously, I seen there was a report. I don't know who said it, maybe Jay Glazer or whoever it was. Justin Fields versus Russell Wilson. Who should they bring back? Reports are coming out that they're going to go with Fields, but it's so early. The Super Bowl still hasn't been played. I don't really take anything into consideration. Where do you see and who do you think that they should bring back?
That's a tough one, but I think you got to roll with Justin Fields. If you're going to be now, with that being said, Russell Wilson's a veteran. He's done really well in the past. He's also struggled, but he doesn't seem to me, again, to be the most mobile guy. He doesn't use his legs too much, at least from what I've watched. And if you're going to do that, you have to be a great, quick decision maker, and you have to read defenses very quick. You look at some of the pocket passers, and they just make quick decisions. Even if their O-line's not the best, they get the ball out to the right guy very quick, so they don't need to be fast. So if you're going to be a guy that does not use his legs a lot and can't make plays happen with your feet and on the run outside the pocket, then you have to be able to make those quick decisions, make the right read, accurate throws fast. And I just didn't see a whole lot of that. And one element, too, that the Steelers' offense, I think, needs going forward is they need more RPOs. I mean, this is very generic, but they need some more option plays, more RPOs. I think they need some design quarterback runs, and Justin Fields can do all those things. He's still a young quarterback, so he has time. Give him time to develop. I think he'll be good down the road. You just have to be patient with these guys. You throw them into the NFL, their rookie year, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, it's very few people succeed in that position, but I know in an era, in a culture of instant gratification, people expect quarterbacks to be great immediately, but just give them time. I think Justin Fields will be good down the road.
So let's talk about another quarterback. Thoughts on Sam Darnold? Do you think Pittsburgh should consider him?
I think so. So I'm also a big Vikings fan, so I followed the Vikings very closely. My wife is from Minnesota and played football up there too. So, Cowboys, Vikings. So didn't watch a lot of the Cowboys this year. So I was able to follow along with the Vikings closer since they had such a good season. And Sam Darnold's one of those guys where he can use his legs. He's actually he can move when he wants to, but he's a really good decision maker. He had a really good O-line, which helped a lot, which helped set up a lot of his deep play action throws. So I think Sam Darnold could be a good option, but you've got to give him a better offensive line than what the Steelers have now. Because when he is under pressure, like you saw in that playoff game, I mean, like most quarterbacks, you struggle, right? When you got guys a foot from you swinging their arms
out. Time to get the ball out.
No, I mean, you can only put so much on a quarterback. If you don't have time to throw, I don't care who you are. Yeah, you're not going to do that well. And that's what you saw in the playoff game against the Rams. Was he was just getting swarmed, and defensive coordinator started blitzing the crap out of him, and it worked. So
before I throw it over to Mike, Ohio State just won another national championship. Who are some of your draft prospects from them?
Gosh, who's that? Who's the receiver on Ohio State that is a stud? His name's
Luka. I saw you post about Judkins too, right? You like the running back?
Yes. And all those skill positions are great. And I think, the Steelers need to pick up maybe another receiver, maybe another running back. But I mean, I would focus on the offensive line. Seriously. And I know it's so easy to say, but you can have all the skill in the world on the perimeter, in the backfield. It does not matter. So I'm not really sure. I'm not too familiar with who the top offensive line prospects coming out of college this year are and who the best ones are. But I'd really hope the Steelers front office would look to drafting some offensive linemen and then maybe, taking over maybe pulling some NFL vets for receiver and trading around there. But I mean, my focus would be the offensive line.
And that's what me and Mike always talk about. It's not the most glamorous position. Obviously, it's not wide receiver, running back, or quarterback. But if you could compose, you could have a mediocre. We're talking about running backs. You could have a mediocre running back behind a stellar offensive line, and it's going to perform the way that you want it to, and you win the games up front ultimately. So you need there. You can never have enough offensive linemen. There's injuries, next man up, especially in Pittsburgh. We've seen it time and time again on offense and defense. So I say draft the Hogs and get them in there as much as you can, and it's a win-win, I think.
Absolutely. And it's not the most exciting draft to watch offensive linemen get picked. You like the flashy names like receivers or running backs, but to a fan that cares more about just flashy names and fantasy football, I mean, that's what will really win you games is a good offensive line. If the Steelers had a great offensive line, better than any other defensive line in the league that can just crush them, all three of us could go rush for, 30 or 40 yards. All we need is 4 or 5 yards of distance and a good line. So, I mean, that's how important it is, but it's not flashy, like you're saying.
Yeah, like you said, Jordan, I mean, Saquon Barkley is a prime example. You could have a stellar running back and a mediocre offensive line, and look what happens. I want to get you out of here on this because learning about your Cowboys connections, a name popped into my head. Not sure you feel about him, but do you think the Steelers should take any type of chance on, not to rhyme, but on Trey Lance if he's out there?
Gosh, I don't know. It's from what I've seen from Trey Lance so far in in-game action, I haven't been wowed by any means, and that's easy for me to sit here in a chair and watch TV and say, I'm not too impressive. Again, not many people can do what he can do, but I would still stick with Justin Fields over Trey Lance right now. I think Trey Lance can still develop a lot more. At least Justin Fields has some play time with the Steelers, and I think he's done well in many circumstances with the Steelers. But I think if you keep Justin Fields, don't pick up Trey Lance, in my opinion. You keep Justin Fields, maybe you can get another quarterback like Sam Darnold. But I think the offense, as a scheme, we can worry about the O-line and getting receivers, but scheme-wise, I think it needs a lot of work. I just wasn't impressed with a lot of the creativity against the Ravens. It was a lot of basic stuff, not a whole lot of.
Anyone was.
What's that?
I said I don't think anyone was.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, Arthur Smith. We talked about it on previous podcasts. I told Mike I think he was the biggest letdown of this season. I know like the quarterback play has been so bad in Pittsburgh as of late since the Big Ben departure that it's like I feel like that the ceiling is just not high at all. So it's like when we get like someone like Russ, it's the best QB play that we've seen, and that's just where the ceiling's at. So it's like, yeah, it's good, but it's not gonna get you anything. It didn't get us a playoff win. We, went 0-5 in a first round exit at the end of the season. It's rinse, wash, repeat. So
for sure.
Hey, before we get you out of here, one last thing. Just tell everyone where they can find you. I've been watching your content for a while now. Love it. Just tell us what you have coming up next. I know it's the off season, but I'm sure this is a busy time for you as well. You don't sleep as well. So
that's right. Try to get my 8 hours, but sometimes it's harder than
I hear you.
Times. Right now during the off season, I like with spring ball coming up, I like posting a lot of drill work. So there's a lot of different drills, mainly for quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers. And then a lot of the times I try to go watch film from a lot of college football, but then some NFL, and try to post some of the creative trends that we've seen the past year. And there's been quite a few. So those are the things that I'll be posting. And then there's going to be another book here coming up in probably the next month or two. And I can't tell you the topic yet, but I think it'll be a really good one, the one that people are excited about. It's one that I'm passionate about. And so be on the lookout for that. But I have a website where I sell books and have some content on there. That's jakefranklinfootball.com, like you mentioned in the beginning. And then on Instagram, X, and TikTok, it's just Jake Franklin FB. Super creative name. My name with football at the end. So that's where you can find me. Yeah.
Straight and to the point.
Yes, straight and to the point. That's what I'm all about.
Hey, man, well, really appreciate you coming on here. I hope your Cowboys can get it together. I know that he left, but Mike McCarthy's a Pittsburgh guy, as you know. I know there was some chatter about him possibly being the head coach, but yeah, so we're hoping for a change in Pittsburgh. Definitely, we bleed black and gold, but just like the Cowboys, man, something's got to give because it's just brutal, man. It's the expectations are not very high right now. So, hey, we appreciate your time. Keep up the good work. Can't wait for the book. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
I appreciate y'all. Thanks, guys.
Got it.
Have a good one. Yeah, I mean, he said it there, Mike. I mean, it's we say it time and time again: offensive line, draft offensive lineman. But the Steelers got to get someone, a wide receiver in free agency, draft. Quarterback positions up in the air. There's just too much question marks. I know it's the offseason, but we just got to stick with something and hopefully it works, because this is just, this gives me anxiety. I'm already have anxiety now, and it's still the offseason. So, yeah.
I thought it was interesting what he said about Sam Darnold, coming directly from a guy who pretty much watched every Vikings game. It sounds like I'm out on Sam. I don't think he would be a guy who excels in the AFC North back in bad conditions. I think he had 11 games in a dome last season, and with Kevin O'Connell, I think that's why his stats were inflated. I wouldn't go anywhere near him, but also I didn't watch as much Sam Darnold as our guy Jake whatsoever. So that playoff game, I think, turned a lot of people off from him, that's for sure. And I mean, I get it, man. You can never have too many Bulldogs up front. Omar Khan's trying, right? Like, Zach Frazier last year, Mason McCormick, as well as Troy Fatanu, who was hurt, but Broderick Jones. Yeah. Potentially an opening guard as well, if Samalo or Daniels is not retained. So, I mean, you're right. They I think had a good start to the season, but really tailed off in the end. It comes down to coaching too, because they have some bodies, but Pat Meyer didn't do a good job. I can't believe he's kept his job. But if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers coach or player or member of the front office these days, it doesn't seem like much is going to change, and you have pretty a lot of job security, too much job security, that's for sure.
And I'll end on this note. Like, we love the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's our job to critique them. Been doing this podcast for a while, and we want the best for our guys. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know how the front office, Mike Tomlin, Rooney's, anyone right now can look Steeler Nation in the face and say, I mean, we're going on a decade now of just underperforming. So something's got to give, man. People are fed up. It's just, you could sit here and preach to the choir, oh, we feel like we're going to win a Super Bowl. Show us.
Yep.
Show us. I'll leave it at that. So, hey, we'll keep rocking and rolling, bringing on great guests. Really love this show, just to get his insights, some X and O, watches a lot of film. Now I'm going to go watch some film myself, maybe make a steak hoagie. So, hey, everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. As always, Jay York Football alongside of me, mic'd up Sports One, the Sports Almanac himself, our guy Jimmy back in the SICK studio. Shout out to our SICK team over at the Super Bowl Media Row.
Great job. Stuff. Hopefully we can be there.
Yep. Next year when the Steelers go, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. Have a great night. We'll talk to you guys soon. Make sure you subscribe. Jimmy, take it away.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the SICK Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.